Oh, so now it's possible to hear.
Here we are, Tennis Channel, benvenuti. Abbiamo avuto qualche problema tecnico, some technical problem. Now we can start with this official ITF and Player Council live. So today we have the honor to have our first live meeting with the ITF and ITF Player Council. The ITF will be represented by this tennis manager, Farivar Tanhai, who is working for the ITF since 2018. Ciao Fari, welcome.
Ciao a tutti.
The Player Council will be represented by the chairman, Maraike Biglmaier from Germany. Ciao Mara.
Ciao.
The vice chairman, Nikita Burmakin from Russia.
Hello everyone, привет.
And the national team captain from Brazil with his Italian regions, Alex Mingozzi. Ciao Alex.
Hi.
So let's start speaking about the Player Council. A little background information. Why it was established in the first place, and how the selection procedure took place, and what is the role and mission of the Player Council. Mara.
Well, I think Fari can maybe open up this answer, or should.
Let me do that.
Because I'm setting the official part now.
So first of all, thank you for the Player Council to invite me to this opportunity to discuss some beach tennis topics, and thank you to Michele and Daniele for creating the platform for this live chat. So let me address that first. In terms of Player Council, listening to the players is always very important, and the ITF has established panels of players with other circuits, I think since 2018 or before. And since we started with a dedicated team in beach tennis, we engaged the players in discussions and exchange of ideas. At the beginning was the BTPA, but the challenges that we had with the BTPA wasn't a recognized body. So while we were working with them, we also worked to establish a body that was recognized. So we created a nomination process and a voting process at the beginning of 2019, and then the Player Council was voted in the most democratic way that we could have delivered in that moment. It was a pre-IPIN era, and our first meeting was in the summer of 2019, and I think that the cooperation has all improved from last summer and up to a couple of weeks ago, where we had a very, very long and productive call with the Player Council.
Yes, and yeah, from our point of view, from the players, we are very happy to finally have an official voice inside the ITF. But yeah, at the same time, I can just only say it, only repeat it. We are not working for the ITF. Let's say it, we are challenging the ITF because we are annoying them with questions and things to improve. So we really represent the players. And,
I confirm that, Maraike. I confirm that, Maraike.
Yeah, probably Fari can also confirm that we have a very discussions almost every day, or let's say several times a week. So we are challenging the ITF and we represent the players. We want to get the information from you guys, from the players, to improve things on the tour, to make it step by step more professional. That's the overall goal.
Okay, perfect. So many players are unaware that the Player Council exists. And what are you doing? So Nikita, can you tell us a little about what you have been working on behind the scene?
Yes, first of all, we want beach tennis to be more popular, more well-known, and more played all over the world. And that's why, for sure, we need, first of all, to go on television. That's why we are working on ideas and rules to make beach tennis more visible for TV viewing. which will ultimately bring more sponsors and more prize money for players. For example, we are working on the rules concerning the net height, the ball parameters, and we are working on creation of a standard for a video recording of beach tennis matches. We're also working on the other rules concerning tournament categories, ranking point system, then a smarter tournament calendar, and for sure tournament application deadlines. The other important subject is safety and fairness for the players. And for that, we are working on finding a good maximum number of matches played per day on a tournament. And also, we want to avoid a dangerous situation like it was, for example, in tournament in Santos, where we had very, very hard conditions of court. The other thing, we are starting work on implementing a mixed doubles tour, which is very important for some players. We also want to improve the junior tour. And we have many other things which are really important, and some of them we will address during this leave.
Okay, perfect. And how can players contact you if they have, for example, new idea or a problem about the tour, Mingo?
So I think it's very easy because now we have a Facebook group, the Player Council official group. So the players can contact directly the group, or they can contact directly the one of the Player Council member. So we are 9 members from different countries. So we speak a lot of different languages. So it's very easy to create a connection with the group.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about ITF Tour development. And Fari, what are the main goals right now from the ITF standpoint for beach tennis?
Main goals. So I think that one gap that we've seen, and we touch on it maybe later on as well, is promoting the sport. We believe that the sport is very appealing to the crowd, to the fans, but perhaps we are not doing a good enough job, and I think Nikita mentioned this, in promoting the sport through all the media and communication channels, being streaming, TV, all the social media channels as well. So that is one point that we want to focus on, because we believe we have something that is appealing to the market, but we haven't been able to place that product properly at the moment. We are also launching the future of beach tennis with the junior tour. We launched it this year. I think we had 4 events before we suspended the tour, and that's next generation. We can call it in different ways, but that's the future of beach tennis. So we need to invest and focus on that. And finally, coming back to maybe the pro players, the challenge is to try to make a pro player maximizing his investment, and therefore, again, as briefly mentioned before, creating a calendar that is, cost efficient and minimizes costs for the player, but maximizes the return where possible in terms of expenditure to attend the events and the return from prize money and other opportunity than that the players finds on site.
Very good, Fari. Thank you very much. Now the Player Council, we have some more specific questions for you. We have very interesting topics to speak about, and Mara can start.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the current situation. The Corona crisis is creating a lot of questions for the players, and we would like to know if there are any, if there's any plan already or any decision made on how the tournaments and tour will proceed this year, or do you have any news on that?
At the moment, our the restart of the tour is scheduled for the 13th of July, and we are working to try to restart in a safe. The paramount principle is restarting in a safe and secure fashion. If we can achieve that on the 13th of July, we will try to do that. If not, we will try to resume the tour as soon as possible in a secure and safe fashion. It is likely that national circuits or tournaments at national level will be able to restart sooner than the international level. This is because international travel is still, limited at the moment. And I think we have issued guidelines to the wider tennis and beach tennis community as ITF, suggesting how to return to tennis and beach tennis at national level. Once we are in a position and, higher level of government decisions will allow us to restart in a safe and secure fashion international tour, we will be ready to do that. Now, I appreciate I haven't given an exact answer of when this is going to happen, but I think everybody knows that the situation is very uncertain, it changes every week. Hopefully we are seeing a positive evolution of where this crisis is going, and we are hopeful that we can start sooner rather than later. And certainly there is more optimism at the moment compared to a few weeks ago. Again, I'm not able to give an exact date at the moment. At the moment, the date is the 13th of July, but we are working to restart safely and secure as soon as possible.
Okay. No, it's. I think everybody can understand that it's very hard to make decisions at the moment. We see that in all the different countries. But one very important topic for the players is the ranking freeze is going on at the moment. But how, when we will restart playing, how will the ranking process continue?
Ranking. So what we have done, we've frozen the ranking as soon as we suspended the tour. When this tour will restart, it will restart with the same frozen ranking that we had, I think, mid-March, I think. I don't remember exactly the date of the last ranking release, but that's where we're going to restart. How we're going to transition from a frozen ranking to a live ranking, if I can call it like that, is subject to the amount of time the tournament will be suspended, the tour will be suspended for. We are now at 2 months. It's going to be 3 months, 4 months, how many months of suspension we will have, how the future of the calendar will look like, because we need to look at what is our expectation in terms of the tour and the number of tournaments at the end of 2020 and at the beginning and throughout 2021. But again, we will be driven by one key parameter, which is resuming it. The transition from frozen to live will be done in the most fair possible fashion. And I think we are here with you with the Player Council. The Player Council will be engaged in understanding what's the best way, and I encourage the playing community to reach out to the Player Council with ideas. Then it's up to the Player Council. Maybe that's not a good suggestion, but trying to understand what we will do is work together with the Player Council to see what is the fairest way to transition from the frozen ranking to the live ranking.
All right, that sounds fair. So we will ask a lot of questions.
There are some ideas floating around based on our other, ATP, WTA, but there are different options, and we will discuss those options in a cooperative fashion for sure.
Okay, great. And we see it in tennis and in other sports that players of the sport are actually doing something for a relief program, and we would like to know if this is somehow happening also for beach tennis. Is the ITF taking this in consideration, or you have any news on that?
Yes, I think that yesterday or very recently, the ITF issued statements regarding relief fund for tennis, and it followed up with another statement saying that the next step is to look at how to support other stakeholders related, all the other stakeholders of the ITF, including National Association. And in that work, in this exercise of seeing how the ITF can support other stakeholders, beach tennis is included. We need to bear in mind that there is not only beach tennis, there is juniors, wheelchairs, all the officials, development. ITF is an umbrella, is a house full of stakeholders, and it is our responsibility to look on how we can support all of these stakeholders. But specifically to beach tennis, we are looking at measures. We will be looking at measures how to support the playing community, the organizer community. For example, what we're going to do with the IPIN. We appreciate that you have invested in the IPIN system, and for the majority of the time now that system wasn't really available to you. So again, subject to how long this suspension is going to be, we will look at ways to support the community in the best way we can, and given the possibilities that we have as well.
Okay, but you don't have any concrete solutions yet for this?
At the moment, no. I think the focus at the beginning was for what was the player relief for tennis players, and then the next steps are now looking at all other stakeholders, including beach tennis. Okay. There have been some soft ideas floated around internally, but we'll reach out to the PC about that as well.
Okay. Also about a possible refund of the 2020 IPIN. This is like.
I don't want to go into details of how, I don't want to start talking about refunds, because I think we have 1,200 players that have registered with the IPIN. Refunding that is going to take us the whole year. So maybe there is other solution equally valuable, but less demanding from an operational point of view. But again, I don't want to start, discussing things in details. But we are conscious of what the investment was done in the IPIN, and we will try to find a solution with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Fari,
okay.
One more question.
Nikita,
two big events in Rio and Aruba made a decision to.
So sorry. Now, Daniele, show us the calendar on our live. You can see.
Sorry.
That is the provisional calendar that we are working on at the moment, and I know the PC suggested us to use provisional calendars moving forward. Maybe this is a tool that we can use in the future. But Nikita, sorry to interrupt you. You were making a question. Sorry, Nikita.
Sorry, no, I didn't know that the calendar was shown. So I wanted to ask two big events of the tour, Rio and Aruba. They decided to run their events outside of ITF, and we want to know your comments on this.
My comments. I think I want to use the same approach that I've mentioned about the IPIN. I don't want to go into the details and the specific of tournaments, because I don't think it would be fair to the tournaments with which we have different levels of conversation. But I can say this, that we as ITF are always happy and open to work with tournaments that are brought forward and sanctioned by the relevant national federation. I don't know if the wider beach tennis community knows how a tournament gets confirmed and approved and published on a calendar. Farivar want to do a tournament, an ITF beach tennis tournament here in London. The way to go about it is make all the application forms submitted to the national federation in England, which is the LTA, and if they approve it, then that it goes to the ITF to coordinate really the calendar rather than for us to approve. We will look at the requirements, and that's how it really works. We are more of a requirements review, international coordination role in that aspect. And we are always, how can I say, we're always sad to see tournaments not coming back to the tour. And not only the two that you have mentioned specifically, but others as well. We always try to reach out to them, to everybody that doesn't come to the tour, or reduce the category to understand why, if we can support, etc. And we will always keep our doors open for everybody that was in the tour, that for one reason or the other left the tour and wants to come back. We will always be happy to reconsider it, subject to that tournament having the support of the National Federation.
Okay.
Mingo?
I'd like to ask if there are plans for getting beach tennis more coverage worldwide, like in TV, media, or maybe if you have any partnership planned about that, or maybe if ITF could create a beach tennis platform with live streams or results. I think it's very important, because to create a system where people can follow us. What you can say about that?
I certainly agree, Alex, and I think one of the key points that I listed at the beginning was promotion of the sport, and the idea of having a central streaming and scoring platform dedicated to beach tennis is something that we discussed. It's something that we wanted to do last year, and we discussed with the PC as well, and it's in the plans. However, we have launched a new website at the end of last year. You will notice that through the integration of the new website, IPIN, and all the system, just to keep it simple, that goes around and behind the website and the IPIN, you'll have scoring live on the website and buttons where the live streaming is available on the website. So you go on the website, you see which tournaments have live, and you can click and go and watch those streaming. Is that the ultimate and final output that we want? To be discussed and to be seen. I think we want to first test this intermediate output or platform or way to connect to beach tennis, and if it works, great. And if it needs development, we have in plans for sure the idea that we have a vision for something that is a little bit more dedicated and a little bit more discoverable and easy to access. And I think that if there is any organizers watching this, there was a conversation that we engaged with the organizers last year in terms of how they feel about doing that, etc., etc. So this is certainly something in our minds and in our plans. These things takes time, especially if technology is involved. Given that we launched a website, which we think is a major development, a major improvement from what we have in the past, with some of these elements already present, we want to first test and see if they work for the community, and then take decisions.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Yeah, it should be nice.
But we are totally. This is a point that is very present and clear in our plans as well. So certainly something that we are very clear in our plans, for sure.
Right.
Very important for the players.
Agreed.
Yes. Fari, when we look to the future of our sport, many people would like to see beach tennis in the Olympic Games. Do you see that as something achievable in the near future, or is the ITF working on that?
I'll give everybody a news. We are in the Olympic family already. I don't know if anybody has noticed that we are already in the Olympic family, and we were part of the 6 key disciplines, 6 key beach disciplines at the ANOC World Beach Games last year in Doha, Qatar. I appreciate that when we speak about Olympics, we are talking about the Summer Olympics, but there are a long list of requirements needed to be considered for the Summer Olympics, and we need to be realistic about where we are in terms of complying with all those requirements, and everything that we are doing at the moment is to take us closer and closer to those requirements. But going back, one way also to achieve that ultimate byproduct, I wouldn't call it a final objective. I don't think that coming to the Olympic is going to make or break beach tennis. It's a byproduct, is a passage that we may or may not need. But let me make a step back and suggest this. Beach tennis is present at the South American Beach Games. Beach tennis is present at the African Beach Games. Beach tennis is present at the Mediterranean Beach Games, and is now present with ranking points at the World Beach Games. And we are keeping an eye on the Asian Beach Games, which we are not present in, and it's something that we are looking at. I think that if beach tennis can establish itself under the umbrella of the beach games, regional and world, and they grow from there, I think that is the path that we have carved for ourselves in order to grow within that platform, the World Beach Games under ANOC, Associations of National Olympic Committees. Again, we are already part of the Olympic family, and then see where that path will take us. And it's, they say in English, the catch-22. We need to be more popular to attract more attention from the Olympic family, and we do it through the World Beach Games and the regional beach games. Is a virtuous cycle that we need to create and initiate to grow. Our growth has several objective, and one of these is passing through the Olympic movement, which is a catalyst for our growth. Is not an ultimate final objective of beach tennis, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know if you agree, Zee. I don't think that, and I know it's important because other sports, sorry, Maraike, to terminate, they feel maybe that other sports, beach volleyball, it's because it was in the Olympics in '96 that then exploded or become popular. I would caution against that thinking. I don't think that's the case, because there are sports that are on the Olympic, but they are not as popular as beach volleyball. So I don't think it's an objective, and we got to the Olympic and we are done. It's certainly not that. It's just one other way to promote our sport, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
I agree with that. I think it's just one big step for sure. Would be great because of the visibility of our sport, but at the same time, it's not the ultimate goal. I think we have to create a real professional tour with more prize money. That would be even more important for beach tennis. Another question, because we saw that the ANOC World Beach Games were postponed until 2023. They were supposed to be next year. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we know why this has happened, right? This is quite a logical decision, because initially the plan were for the World Beach Games to happen every 2 years. So it was 19 and 21. That was, and in fact, they were already work in progress to find the next host for next year. But we know what happened, and Big Brother Tokyo 2020 was postponed to 2021. I believe that in 2022 you have the Winter Olympics in Beijing, so it's inevitable that that then the World Beach Games then moved, essentially skipping one cycle and returning in 2023. Also because in all of these games, the national Olympic committees are involved, so I don't think they felt comfortable asking the same Olympic committee to send a team to 2 games on the same year. So it is frustrating, it is disappointing, yes, but it's a logical consequence of what is happening at the Summer Olympic level and on the Winter Olympic level. And it will give us time in the next 2 or 3 years to continue to develop the sport, continue to promote the sport, and arrive in 2023 with a stronger group of players and a stronger platform of fans and viewers that we can showcase around the world. So maybe it's not the end of the world, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Fari, we have a question from our friend about the 4 Grand Slam by region as the ITF does with tennis. Are there any plans to make it possible in the near future?
I'm a little bit conflicted because we have, I think, how they say, we have a plan for something that is similar to this concept, but we haven't really launched it, even though everybody knows about it. So I'm not sure how clearly I can speak about it. We are working as part of our promotional plan. The way we want to do this is create a series of events along the year that will allow us to create a narrative from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, where we can talk about beach tennis with some mechanism included that allows for a final at the end of the year with ranking dynamics, etc. So we are certainly working for a concept that can be inspired by the Grand Slam or can be inspired by the ATP Master Series. Do we want only 4 events in beach tennis? Do we want more? It's something that we will monitor and evaluate and assess as we go along. But it's something that we were actually ready to launch this year just before everything is suspended. So I guess I can say to the viewers and to whoever asked this question, stay tuned, because news are about to come your way very soon. If it's not by the end of this year, certainly by the beginning of next year, touching wood.
Thank you very much. So we can continue with the question of the Player Council. Okay, the ITF recently conducted an online survey. Do you have some results about that survey?
I do, and I'm gonna start looking at my screen. So let me give you a little bit of a background. In order for us to understand what we want to do, how to reach our market, how to reach new people that are similar to the profile of the people that we have in our market research is the basic known tools used in every sports organization. So we launched, I think, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, a small survey with key questions about our community, and we are receiving very interesting results about it, and we will make sure to share these results with the wider community as soon as we feel the survey is completed. I guess one key element that let me give you 2 points without going too much into the details. At the moment, we've done just under 3,000 completed surveys. I will say that half come from South America, over half comes from South America, mainly Brazil, and just under half from Europe. So I guess one key output is that Brazil is really taking the leadership in terms of participation in beach tennis, and South America and Europe, as we knew already, are the 2 main regions of beach tennis. So that gives them this indication that we need to work harder to bring beach tennis in North America, Central America, Asia, and Africa for sure, with greater focus. And the other points that I can see, which goes back to media promotion, is that the majority of the people got to know beach tennis through word of mouth, friends and family, and just walking through the beach. So that tells you that it's very difficult for somebody to got to know about beach tennis through a program on TV, something on streaming, some social media content, which I think reinforces what the Player Council is challenging us with in terms of media production, and it's something that reinforces our own belief that media promotion, social media promotion, streaming, TV, is key for us to expand our sport. Imagine what we have done just with word of mouth. Imagine what we can do if we finally go on all those communication platforms that benefited other sports. I believe we have a great future ahead of us, and it's up to us to make that happen. And as I said before, we are trying and we are working to do that.
Yeah, I think one important topic to make it a bit better and better the sport is the ball. And we are using a tennis ball actually for kids, and there are a lot of discussions at the moment to find a better ball. I mean, the first thing is the color of the ball. Do we have to change it? If yes, how we change it, to which color? We know you made tests in Doha, or we made tests actually in Doha, the players. Maybe you can give us some...
We all made tests. We all made the test in Doha.
Me, I wasn't there, but I saw the video. There were tests in Doha, so maybe you can tell us something about the results.
Sure. Again, it's all very interconnected, I have to say. We want to promote the sport. We have engaged key operators of media promotion, sports marketing agency, TV, streaming companies, show beach tennis and the content that we have. And one of the key feedback that we receive is very glamorous, very appealing, very interesting, and very interested, but it's very difficult for us to see the ball. Now, this is a key element because I know there are some videos going around on YouTube where you see amazing rallies, but you just see 4 people moving across the net, but you don't see the ball. So one of the few things that we've done to address, beach tennis as a product, if I can address it like that, is the ball. We want to see the ball needs to be better tracked. So we did a test in Doha with our global development partner Sandev. We tested 5 different type of ball combination: full blue, full purple, purple and orange, blue and yellow, and some other combination. And we come up with the initial qualitative assessment that the purple and orange ball was the most visible one of these options. So what we've done is gives ourselves a trial for this year, which will likely be extended to next year for all the obvious reasons that we know, to trial the orange and purple ball on tour. So I think that by mid-season, mid of the year, this ball has already been, first of all, approved as an ITF-approved Stage 2 ball, and it will be introduced into the market by July or something around that period. And we will encourage organizers to use it. We will encourage players to use it, especially when we have tournaments with streaming, to see if this new ball addresses the problem of the visibility of the ball during daytime. Maybe during nighttime we keep the same ball, and the transition between the day and night is a problem that if we solve the main problem of the day-night, we can address that later on. Obviously, the ball is not going to solve all the problems. We are also looking at camera angles, and we are also looking at backdrops. Some tournament organizers use lighter backdrops. Some organizers use darker backdrops. So these are all 3 elements that we are considering and monitoring and evaluating to make the sports more visible from a ball standpoint.
Okay, great.
Included in that there is the net as well, which we are trialing as well.
Okay. So, but from this ball test, the purple-orange one was the winner, let's say.
At the moment, I want to make clear to the community, this doesn't mean that this is the only ball, the only alternative colored ball that we will consider. Manufacturers, and in the same way, and when we talk about balls, we are engaging the brand partners in the same way that we have a player council. We have organized since last year a sort of panel of the main endemic manufacturers of beach tennis, and we are engaging them on rackets and balls specifically, and we are talking with them, and they know very well, they are very, very much invited and encouraged to submit for approval balls of different colors. It can be green and yellow, black and white, every color combination in this trial period that goes for this year. Initially was for 2020, but is likely going to be extended to 2021. Manufacturers are welcome to submit to the ITF for approval balls in different color combination. Obviously, all other stage 2 specification needs to stay the same.
Okay, great. And is the ITF also trying to get new specifics for the ball? I mean, many players say that it would be better to have a little bit softer or slightly bigger ball. What do you think about that?
We are, again, we have had, I think last Monday, a long conversation with the brand panel about this topic. You know, we are discussing two main topics, the racket and the ball, and we are trying to figure out weight, size of the ball. These are the two elements that we are considering if needs to be changed or not, and racket as well. So conversation is ongoing with the panel, and those elements in terms of softness, I think we are moving away from softness, but more about weight and size, and we haven't come to a precise view of where we want to go. And clearly, when we do, we will engage with the players, we will engage with all the stakeholders and see if we all agree this is the route that we want to take. But yes, to answer your question, we are looking at the ball color, ball specifications, racket specifications as well. This all implies investment from a manufacturer. Obviously, this is not changes that happen without investment. So we need to be conscious of the fact that we need to see how the world is after this crisis, also in terms of which manufacturers is going to be in a position to invest in all of these changes as well.
Okay, thank you.
Fari, I have a question about the net. The beginning of this year was introduced the higher net of 180 centimeters for men's doubles for highest categories of the tournaments. And yes, unfortunately, we played only a few tournaments before the pandemic started. But what is the ITF point of view? Does it work, this higher net?
We don't know yet, obviously. So, and again, everything is correlated to our main objective, which is promoting the sports and making beach tennis the most popular sports worldwide in terms of beach sports. So again, speaking with operators of the market in terms of TV and streamers, we realize that the men's game is maybe too fast, too little rallies, too much dependence on the serve. We introduced this trial for 2020, where tournaments from BT 100 category and above are mandated to use the net at 180 centimeters, and it's optional for BT 10 and BT 50. I think that before the suspensions, only 2 tournaments have embraced this, a BT 10 and 50, maybe 2 or 3. I think in Italy at the beginning of the year in January, and the BT 400 in Santos. So
we played also in Moscow.
And in Moscow, apologies for that. So the initial feedbacks that we have received, and they are all qualitative based, is I would say positive, or at least not negative. Let me put it this way. But we will continue the trial for 2020, most likely extend it to 2021, then implement a data capture program where we will ask players, we will ask tournament organizers their point of view about the successfulness of this initiative. Also, we will look at footage and see that if the objective that we wanted to achieve with this initiative have been achieved, and then at the end or between the middle of and third quarter of next year, we will gather all the feedbacks and make a determination about do we continue with this rule or not. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Have you seen it? Well, I know that Nikita and Alex have tried it in Santos. What do you think? Maybe, and Maraike, maybe you saw footage of it on TV. So what do you guys think? So far?
Sure, the rallies were much longer than they were on the same tournament last year. Because when we played in Santos before, with 170 net, it was only ace. The guys who served well, they did not play on their serve. And now we saw, for example, the final, semi-final, we always play a point. We had very few aces. Ingo, what do you think? We played against.
Yeah, if we want more rallies, we have more rallies. And in Santos, we played in a very hard ground. So I think that maybe with the softer sand, probably we will have more rallies. So I think the result was good. The game, in my opinion, now it's more technical, so it's interesting, and we will see. We hope, is one of the best solution. So you put 1.80 meter, or you put a bigger ball, or you cut the racket. We have only 3 of this. So now ITF decided to put 1.80 meter. Maybe in the future, we never know. Maybe we will cut the racket, or we put a bigger balls in the future. I don't know, but maybe it's a starting point. I think the players, mostly of the players, I heard that they like, but we only play one tournament. It should be interesting to play one season, and so.
It will be more than one season. Ultimately, it will be more than one season.
We cannot say, because we play in a very hard ground, like a hard court. So maybe it's not the real BeachTennis. We have to see.
Maraike, Michele, what do you think as viewers? Maybe you haven't played. What do you think?
I was surprised because I expected in Santos, I got a lot of phone calls that the courts were too hard. I wasn't there physically, so
I got a phone call about Santos as well on Saturday. I wonder who called me. I don't remember. Let me think about that.
Yes, and me. No, but I expected a lot of very short points, a lot of just aces or service winners or return mistakes, and I was actually surprised by the length of the points. So for me, it was at least a positive trial. And I think we already learned from last year when we first tried the 3 meter block zone. I think all people were negative about this in the beginning, and in the end, everybody liked it. So I think sometimes we have to try the things in order to be sure if it's something positive or negative.
Opportunity just came into my mind. If there is any organizer watching this, I think we send some guidelines about how you can implement this, because we understand that the main concern is about how difficult it is about changing the net by 10 centimeters. And, let me be also very, our big brother beach volleyball does that without even thinking about it. So that tells us how long away we are to become professional. But we sent some guidelines at the beginning of the year where we understand and we are conscious about this problem given the technology that we can have at the moment. So the focus is on center court where we want the change of the net high between men and women because gender equality is an absolute priority and focus for us. But we also suggested that if organizers cannot change the net on all other courts, as long as there is a balance between men's courts and women's courts, then we can accept somehow keeping some dedicated courts as long as there is an equal and fair distribution of the court. The key is the main court in center court where everything is televised. So that's where our focus is. And by developing the sports, hopefully there will be more resources, more groundsmen or courtsmen or netmen that can be deployed. But as a first year, we will be happy to consider just keeping one court where you need to change the net more regularly, and then the other courts, as long, let me be clear, that there is fair and equal distribution of those courts dedicated to one format or the other. It's not ideal, but it's a compromise that we are willing to do for a bigger results, which is finding out if the increase of the net will allow us to be more appealing, increase the numbers of rallies, make us more appealing to the media, and therefore bringing more revenues and resources to the sport. It's all done ultimately for that final objective. So I wanted to clarify that.
Fari, now the situation is that on highest categories, starting 10,000, we have higher test nets of 180, and on lower categories of $0 and 4,000, we have the net of 170. And we had a lot of feedback from players who are unhappy with that, and they want to have all the same net during all the tournaments. Because it's quite difficult. For example, if there is a $0 tournament on Thursday, and then on Friday starting the bigger tournament of 35K, and the players have to switch from one day to the other to have a different height of the net. So maybe that's possible to do the same net for all the categories, even now?
It is possible. Thank you for that question. The background to that is that the original proposal that we put forward was to make it mandatory for all categories, BT10, 50, 100, 200, 400, and certainly for that series and the World Championship and the World Cup. However, given the concern that was raised about the lower category, BT10 and BT50, maybe not having the operational capabilities to change the net, we were happy to reduce the trial to be mandatory for BT100 and above. And I encourage everybody to use the new nomenclature of the categories, BT100, 200, etc. And keep it optional. And I know this question was raised to us. It is optional for BT10 and BT50. In fact, the first tournaments in Italy in January, they weren't supposed to do it, but requested it to do it, and we give them the possibility to do it again, subject to a very clear principle of equal distribution and fair distribution of the courts between men and women. So if the Player Council is grouping and summarizing this input from the players, they want the net to be, the trial to be expanded as a mandatory requirement for BT10 and BT50, we can certainly consider that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can continue, Mingo?
I'd like to know if you have any information about the new format for the World Team Championship and for the regional championship in the future, because we heard that maybe they will change, and and also if every nation getting the chance to participate of these events.
this is a question that not that I didn't like the other question. This is a very important question because this is something that we worked on for over a year. So we have changed the qualification system of what we now call the World Cup of Beach Tennis. Again, we moved from World Team Championship to World Cup of Beach Tennis. Theoretically, from this year, all the regional competitions, they were on an individual format. So you can have a Brazilian team playing against another Brazilian team in the Pan American Games and in the European Championship. From this year, the main format of all these regional competition is team-based. So to make it simple, like in Moscow. So it's team against team with rubbers and tie. And what we do is that every region will have a certain numbers of qualification spots, and if you play in the European competition, the top X nations will qualify for the World Cup. Because up to this year, the way you will qualify for the World Cup was based on the result of last year's competition or your combined ranking. So essentially, what we have tried to do is open the ability for nations to play the World Cup through regional competition. And one step forward is, okay, I am a new and upcoming nation. I have very little chance to play a World Cup, very little chance. And this goes against our objective to expand beach tennis in countries and regions where there is no beach tennis. So what we are doing, we are creating this platform, this avenue in South America, Central America, Africa, Europe, Asia, where a regional competition can be organized, and the top N nation, depending on each region, can, if they reach that top N final standing, they will have an automated guarantee place in the World Cup, based at the moment on a 16 draw. And we will give regions the options of play around with the how can I say, the number of draw and the sub-regionalization of those events. For example, in South America, there is the Pan American Cups, where is South American, Central American, and Caribbean all included. But maybe in other regions, rather than combining, you need to split North and South, because you make it easier for certain nations to go to that competition. So what we are trying to do is bring beach tennis closer to new nations, make it easier to participate, and give everybody a higher chance to participate in the most prestigious event of our tour, which is the World Cup.
Okay, so now in the regional we play men's, women's, and mixed, like a team.
Well, what you've done up to last year in the Pan American Games, Alex, with your team, you had a final Brazil against Brazil, or you had what we are doing this year is doing. It's good for you, but not for the sports. I'm sorry to say that. No, you're joking. What we are going to do is use the same format that we use in Moscow, where Brazil plays against Venezuela. Costa Rica plays against Argentina, and so on. And the same will happen in Europe, and hopefully we see that format being taken from Africa and Asia in the future as well. Clearly, again, post-crisis, things will look a little bit more different, and it will take a little bit of time for this whole pyramid and system of qualification and regional competition to land, be established, and be popular.
Okay. And for the junior, Fari, what happened?
For the junior, because the junior was always part of the tour but never official, at the moment, this qualification system doesn't apply for the junior. So it will go back to combined ranking and final standing. But because we are at year one of the official junior beach tennis World Tour Junior. So, but in the long term, we would like to see the junior tour take its own life, like in tennis. You know, the junior tour in tennis is completely separated from the pro tennis. We launched the junior tour this year, and we hope to see it develop both at tour level, but also at national level. So maybe not in the short, medium term, Michele, but certainly in the long term, this is what we want to achieve with the junior tour as well. We want the junior tour to replicate somehow what we are doing with the pro tour, and develop the next generations of beach tennis players.
Perfect. Okay, can continue.
Players want to know if the prize money are planned for a World Cup. Also maybe for regional championships, the qualification ones.
Good question, Nikita. Prize money for regional and World Cup. This has to do with two elements: resources available, both at international level, so at our level, and national level, about the host nation, and also organizers that organize these events. And we will give ourselves better chances to do that once we are able to better produce content of the sports. When we become more popular, more people will watch it, more eyes on TV and on streaming, and hopefully sponsors coming in. I don't know if we will be able to achieve this year or next year, but it's actually something that we are discussing with potential hosts of the World Championship. Well, we know there is prize money in the World Championship, potential host of the World Cup and Regional Cup as well. So we know this is required, but again, we're not developed as yet to be able to do that, but hopefully we will in the future.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, let's hope that. I have another hot topic to discuss with you, Fari, about hospitality, because I was bothering you with this question already for quite a while. I mean, I asked this question, I think, already when you started working for the ITF. But I personally find it pretty unfair, and I think many players find it unfair that we take a rule from tennis into beach tennis for hospitality. That is, in tennis, it makes sense that the hospitality is given to a team or to a player only until he or she loses. But in beach tennis, our tournaments are not lasting normally for a week. They're only lasting for 2 or 3 days. Plus, we don't give hospitality for all the draw like it is in tennis. In tennis, they get all the draw is getting hospitality, and the tournament lasts over 7 days. But in beach tennis, it's different. So our question is why don't you give the hospitality until the last day of the tournament? Because until the morning after the tournament finishes. Because what happens now is that in some tournaments we have players get hospitality, they lose, and they have to search immediately for a hotel, and this is causing problems. In sometimes you don't even find a cheap hotel anymore, or a hotel that is okay from the price. And we know that beach tennis players normally are not rich, so that's a big problem for us.
It's thank you, Maraike. It is a question that is certainly in my mind, and you actually put it in my mind since a long time. So at the moment, the regulation states that players exiting the draw will lose hospitality, or the tournament organizer have the options to extend the hospitality until the next day, until the Monday morning, let's say. Okay, so there is the options to do that, but there is no mandatory requirements for the organizers to do that. Why is that? In the same way that you say there is limited resources for the organizer, for the players, why, when I engage the organizers, they tell me they have limited resources as well, and then it's becoming difficult for them to justify even the top 4 seeds or the top 8 seeds to give full hospitality, because even if it's only 3 days, because it's going to increase their cost. So and this is where my job is about finding the right middle point, the optimal point, ideally between what the player requires and what are the limitations of the organizers. And I think what we put in the regulation this year, and we're going to work to improve this, is for the organizers to provide hospitality until the morning after the end of the tournament. But on the other side, the players should cooperate with the organizers to help promote the sports locally and nationally, or whichever way the promoters need us. Because once you end and I appreciate that from a player perspective, I'm flying all over here. For some reason, I don't reach the final, or maybe there is a big upset and I get out in the first round, and I find myself with no accommodation. Okay, that is understood, and that creates a challenge. But from an organizer point of view, okay, I'm going to invest in you, keeping you here. But then the player, I would think, should give something in return. So it may be doing clinics with the members of the organizer club, doing commentary during the streaming, or somehow cooperate with the organizers to make that decision easier for the organizer. Because if for the organizers is only, okay, I just need to spend money in the crudest possible way to extend the hospitality for somebody that I don't really need to, is a more difficult decision than say, okay, I'm going to extend you this hospitality, and you in return, we're going to agree that you do this, and the other for me. And I do believe there are these sort of agreements already are present in the tour. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know, because I've engaged some of all the organizers about this, that they tell me, yeah, we give extra hotel, we give hospitality, they do live commentating for us, etc., etc. So I know this exists, and because the rules gives that option, maybe it's about finding that cooperation, that communication channel between the player and the organizer to find what is worthwhile finding a mutual value in that. That will be the way we are recommending it at the moment. But granted that maybe moving forward, where there is more resources, hopefully that becomes a requirement rather than just an option.
Okay, but Fari, I think the thing is that I believe that most of the players don't have a problem to help the organizer. That's what we usually do. I mean, we are close to the organizers, so in most cases, luckily, we get the hospitality until the day after the tournament finish, even if we lose before.
Okay.
But the rule says it differently. So the organizers could basically kick you out of the room or make you charge the room if you lose. So our question is the thing is that the organizer has to reserve the room anyways. The room is paid normally anyways. Mm-hmm. So, and we are talking here not about 32 or 64 players. We are talking here about 4 or 8 teams. 8 teams in total for men and women. So it's a completely different story than in tennis. And I think if they reserve the room, because the budget is taken anyways, because they have to reserve the room, because probably the seeded players will be there until the last day of the tournament. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's not a winning situation for their budget to let's say not steal the room, but to take the room from us, or charging us for the room for the last night. You understand what we want to address there?
Yeah, so two points. It happens in tennis, but tennis has different levels of resources. So we know that, and I don't know what are the resources of the organizer. So we always say that beach tennis is not tennis, and agree, it's not beach tennis it's not tennis in the goods and the bad. So they don't have, maybe organizers don't have the same resources and the same supports that tennis organizers had. But having said that, let me ask you this: in which instances they don't extend the hospitality? And before you answer, then I recommend you, and it's something that we are doing, you provide us as PC some feedback about this, and then we can try to mediate and help around this challenge. But before, let me ask you, in which instances this lack of extension of the hospitality happens?
but look, for example, I'm flying now to Brazil to play a tournament from Europe, and I have hospitality from the tournament. I'm seated. So I'm planning my trip back on Monday after the tournament normally, because the tournament finishes normally on Sunday. So, and I lose on Friday. But my plan, I mean, I don't have any reservation for any hotel, so it is pretty unfair to make the player pay an expensive hotel in this moment. You understand what I mean?
No, I agree. But you mentioned that sometimes, most of the time happens, but sometimes it doesn't happen. In those instances where it doesn't happen, why it doesn't happen? It's just the decision. If you say that it's not in the interest.
I think it's. I mean, the hotel is already booked and paid by the organizer.
Okay.
So they don't care, but in some cases they do care, and then you get kicked out of the room, or you lose the room for, let's say, not a fair reason. Because normally, I think if you get hospitality for a tournament, you should get the hospitality. I mean, if we're talking now about, for example, a future tour where every tournament lasts for the whole week, and we gain a lot of money, I completely understand that if you lose, you cannot make holidays for 5 more days. But now we're talking about tournaments that are like 2 or 3 days long, and basically always on the weekends. For example, to give you an example, if you go to the tournament in Royan, it's a very nice place, but there's a lot of limitations of the hospitality in general, because normally the place is full, it's crowded, and it's in many places where we go, it's high season. So it's very unlikely to get a cheap hotel. And I think the rule is just misleading in this case, because most of the organizers, they give us the hospitality until the last day, but not all of them. But we ask for just changing the rule, for having this as something that is, written on the paper, that we don't have to shake every time.
Okay, I mean, we know this is something that we discussed in our last call, so it's noted. And in the future, maybe the Player Council can summarize which tournaments maybe they're not, favoring the application of the optional element, and we can go and see why in the short term, and in the long term we can try to look at this as a mandatory requirement. But again, post-crisis, resources will be limited to everybody, so we don't want to start making things more expensive straight after the virus crisis. But it's point taken, and
but you don't make anything more expensive. That's what I mean.
But I don't understand why they wouldn't do it. Then I don't understand why they wouldn't do it. Just because of.
No, the problem is the rule that is taken from tennis. It's the wording of the rule. Because the wording of the rule is taken from tennis, and the tennis tournaments are lasting for a week. But in our case, all the organizers reserve the room anyways for the whole weekend. So they don't lose anything, but we lose something as players. That's
how often does it happen? How often does this happen?
Well, it happens. It happens. I mean, okay. I don't want to name.
Let's not make names. We're not here to make names. But okay. Well, let's talk about it. Okay. Point taken, Maraike. Point taken. It is something that you raised several times. So I know it's important, and I know that not only the PC has raised this, and a few players mentioned this to me. So I know it's an important point, and we will look into that. We will certainly.
Okay, I have one more question that came up right now. Is about the rule change that the ITF did about the best, about entering a tournament with the best combination of points, the highest result.
Yes.
I think. Was not a very smart rule change, but can you give us any update on that?
We are working to change it certainly by January 2021.
Not before?
Certainly by January 2021.
Okay, thank you. So then it will be changed back to have the same as before.
Both entries and seeding will be ranking positions. again.
Okay, combined ranking position. Okay.
Combined ranking position.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask something about the
Starting
calendar.
to get nervous here, so I'm keeping my racket at hands here, okay?
Okay. I'd like to talk something about the new calendar. If because in this year, in last years we have some problems, so it would be interesting to know if the calendar will be maybe better this year.
What does better means is a big question.
Easier, easier to, like, more regional.
Yes. This is a point that was raised since maybe the second day I started working at the ITF. So I know this is important, and hopefully, and you see somebody is showing the provisional calendar because we understand it's an important element. We are trying to work with this, but we also need to understand that we are typically what we are faced with is this decision. Do we accept a tournament that comes late, that is not in the right place at the right time, or not? And essentially it's supply and demand. I don't think we are in a position as a sport where we can say, you want to do a BT 400, you want to do a BT 200 that is maybe 3 months application or is not in the right month of the region. No, we can't. I don't think we are in a position at the moment to afford rejecting playing opportunities for the playing community. And that's the basis of how we make decisions, because I think that we've done a rough statistic. If we were to be strict with application timing, we will lose half of the tournament. That's as simple as that, and I don't think we want that, right? So we can be very strict and very on time and play half of the time. I'm not sure if that's what we want. So this is a challenge that we embrace, and is a challenge that we want to overcome. And this provisional calendar, that this crisis provides us an opportunity to work with this new tool, which is a provisional calendar that we are trying to coordinate before they go publish. What we need to do is educate or cooperate or work better with organizers and host federations for them to understand that a regionalized calendar is better for them and is better for the players. But let me tell you this, we are in 2020. We did try this in 2021. It didn't work very well. We did try encouraging swings at the beginning of this year. Well, this year is sort of a particular year. We are conscious of this. We are providing incentives to do this, but it's also difficult, I would imagine, from an organizer point of view, to adapt to this. So it's going to be a process, a short-medium process of 2-3 years in order for everybody to naturally fit and land in the right place in the calendar. But, I'm just saying that it's not that we are not doing it because we don't want to do it. It's because, number one, we are in a place in the development curve of the sports where we cannot be rigid and reject playing opportunities. And we are in a place in the development curve of the sports, and I think all of you, and especially Maraike, touched on, where we need to professionalize the sport from a department perspective, from a player perspective, from an organizer perspective, from all stakeholders perspective. So we are working towards that ultimate objective. But it's not easy, I'll tell you. Calendar coordination is not, because everybody wants the same week, and they have different, then there is the bank holiday and there is the holiday, and they want it, it's tricky. If it was easy, it would have been done already. But we like challenges, and we will try to overcome these challenges. But it will take us a few years.
For sure, we cannot reject tournaments. So we need tournaments.
Yeah, that's number one. And you know, when maybe you speak with you are closer to the organizers to some extent than we are, than the department is. And maybe you can go and promote this. Maybe we speaking about this. And I don't know what is the feedback that you receive from the organizer when you talk about this, if at all.
We will work on it.
Do you receive feedback from the organizer? Do you speak with the organizer about this as well?
Of course, yes.
Of course, we have to.
And what they say to you.
But I think the main problem is that the organizers are not connected with the other organizers. So they sometimes don't know when certain tournaments take place, even in their own country.
I agree. And you see what we are, and we tried the provisional calendar last year, but didn't work. We are taking this, bad situation that we are all living and turn it into whatever positive that we can, and using this tool, the provisional calendar, where we are sharing it, we all organizers, so they understand the challenges that we have, and hopefully this will continue in the future. Not easy, but we are making steps, small little steps. Not enough, I appreciate, but we will get there. But
I think it will already help if the ITF gives some guideline for the countries, for the national federations, in which months they could organize their tournaments. So then we have a little bit of structure inside this.
Agree. Sorry, Maraike. We tried that at the beginning of 19. Didn't really work out very well. So because enforcing things doesn't really work. We need to find different ways to persuade and incentivize people to fall into their place. And hopefully we are making progress, small progress. But I agree. That is, it works in other sports. It works in tennis. It works in Formula One. It works in other sports. So it needs to work for beach tennis as well. So it's something that is very clean in our mind as well.
Okay, great. Another topic is what many players are also talking about, even it's not a typical players topic, but we want our sport to grow, and we don't see the big financial investment that the ITF should probably do in beach tennis to make it bigger. We don't see that yet. Can you maybe give us some feedback about how much
you miss beach tennis a lot, Fari. You miss beach tennis.
Now this is stress level from the question from Maraike. This is keeping my stress level.
Maybe you have some statistic or something that you can show us how much really the ITF is investing into beach tennis to somehow, give us a feedback on that, please.
Maybe the investments are not visible, but they are there. And I'll start with the positive element. The fact that for 10 of the last 12 years there wasn't. Let me put it this way: for the fact that in the last 2 years there is a dedicated beach tennis department and a dedicated team comes through an investment. It doesn't happen without investment. Okay, so there is an investment there. Not only there is an investment, there is behind that investment, there is a political decision to create a dedicated team and therefore invest in that. So maybe you don't see the investment because it doesn't come directly in anybody's pocket, but that what happens is that the ITF has decided to focus and invest more with a dedicated team. Number two, we launched IPIN after years and years of requests of the IPIN in 2020, this year, and it was the earliest possible moment. We agreed with our committee and with the ITF to launch beach tennis as soon as possible at the end of 2018, and throughout 2019 there has been a huge amount of work that went into creating this the IPIN system, something that nobody has seen, but I can tell you a huge amount of work in terms of investment from the ITF, resources dedicated within the organization of the ITF, investment done in technology that went into the launch of the ITF. Some of the new initiatives that we're going to launch have investment behind it, resources behind it. Let me give you one example. In Terracina, for example, in the last World Championship, I think we improve our viewing figures, our media stats by a factor of 10, from the previous year in 2018. And if not more, we had a lot more, at least 10 times more viewers for Terracina from the years before. And part of this was done because the ITF invested in a communication team. I remember we had that players meeting. This is the Davis Cup, Fed Cup team that is coming to Terracina, and we brought it to Doha as well. These are investments that are not direct, I appreciate there are not direct investment in prize money, which as a player, I understand maybe is what you want, but these are indirect investment that we done with the new branding, for example, with this new series that we are creating. These are indirect investment that we are doing so that we create a virtuous cycle of we are promoting the sports, the sports becomes more popular, it attracts more viewers, and it attracts resources back. That is a simple, basic model that we are all familiar with. So we are making investments. Some of them may be visible, some of them may not be visible, but I guarantee you that increased investment has been done, certainly in the last 2 years. Having said that, more can be done, and we will always try to do more. But on the other side, we need to show that that investment is justified. There is a lot of parts in the ITF that suggest investment, and we need to show that investing in beach tennis is a good investment. So it's up to us as a community of beach tennis fans, operators, players, to show that it's worthwhile investing in beach tennis.
Okay, so actually the money that the income that is created with IPIN is also reinvested into beach tennis then, yeah?
Well, yes. I mean, the straightforward answer is yes, but not only that. As a tennis federation and as national federation, these are all non-profit entities. So it's not only that we have no other choice. And this is what we want to do. All the investment, all the revenue that we receive from sanction fee, entry, IPIN fee, everything else is always reinvested in the promotion of beach tennis, because this is the only way we will invest the revenue that we have. There is no other alternative. This is our obligation, is our desire, and this is all we do as tennis federation that is non-profit. Our focus is reinvesting all the revenues, all the resources in the promotion of beach tennis. Clearly, we need to realize that the resources of beach tennis are still limited, from a player standpoint, are limited from an organizer standpoint, are limited from a national federation standpoint, and are limited from an international federation standpoint. And it is our job together to create, grow the market, grow value, bring new partners, commercial partners in, and create a bigger cake, more resources, and all of those resources will only be reinvested in beach tennis. For example, the extra resources of IPIN were dedicated to some of these projects that we were about to launch this year, but that didn't happen, and it maybe won't happen next year. But you will know news about this soon enough, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
So Fari, we are waiting for a big investment. I have one question, which is which interests not only players but also organizers. We heard many words about Sand Series and Sand Series events. But
I never heard about. Well, I don't know. I don't know nothing about Sand Series, Nikita. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, but
joking.
Okay,
Tell me.
I'm just for entering the Sand Series.
Okay, so yeah, the secret is gone. Sand Series. The secret that never was a secret is gone. So one of the projects that we have was creating Sand Series, and that was one of the new platforms that we wanted to use to promote the sports, in good locations, etc., etc. But to answer your question, in 2000, and this is one of the projects that we worked 1.5 years to come to fruition this year, and we were a week, days to the launch of it, and then everything that we know happened. So we are all a little bit frustrated with that. In terms of eligibility for this series, in 2018 and 19, we opened expression of interest to all organizers, to all of them. We have a mailing list of around 200 organizers. Excuse me. And we open. You need a yellow and orange ball in the dark, Maraike. So we provided.
I cannot move. This is the problem.
We give everybody the opportunity to express an interest, and we receive expression of interest from a number of organizers. Step number one. That expression of interest needs to be supported by the national federation, same as any other tournaments that is part of the circuit, especially because Sand Series is at an elevated level, just a little bit below the World Cup and the World Championship. The support of the National Federation is absolutely key. And then there are minimum requirements in terms of prize money, and we need to have locations that are good and valuable for the concept that we have. And putting all of this together, we've come out with 4 locations for this year. Most likely there will be 4 locations for next year. Maybe there will be some news. We will see. But this is the way we have approached this project.
Okay, Fari, and we want also to know: do you have any group or council of organizers of the tournament with ITF?
Yes, good question. In the same, in 2000 and I think it was last year, 2019, because we believe in working in a consulting fashion and hearing about all the stakeholders. We've done it with the players, and we are now in a good place with the players because with the Player Council that was voted by the players for the players. Last year, we created the manufacturer panels, and it's something that has kicked off in Terracina last year, and we are doing very good progress now, and it now includes almost all brands that are active in beach tennis. With the organizer, what we tried to do last year is initiate a conversation with all the organizers, and a number of them sort of responded to us and suggested to do a separated group where they discuss problems, but unfortunately that didn't work. That didn't work for, different reasons. So what we've done recently is re-engage all of our organizers and ask for 5, 10, a selected number of organizers to express an interest to be part of a panel of organizers, and then we have those nominations. Then we will most probably go and request the support of the National Association, and we will have an organizer panel that we can engage with a coordinator that can then go back and gives us feedback from an organizer point of view, because it's important to listen to the players, but it's just as important to listen to the organizer, as is important to listen to the manufacturers. And finally, we have also our small group of SAGE officials. We have a small group of officials, our referees, that we often work with, that are advising us on rules and regulations. So these are our 4 key stakeholders, and Michele, as captains of the junior team, Sometimes we engage the captains of the pro and junior teams, as well as in matters with the junior team. So I just want to, this gives me an opportunity that we do go and engage the different stakeholders. Sometimes it's difficult because they are not organized. There is not a pyramid like there is now with the players. So it's difficult then to have a good exchange of ideas and thoughts and projects. But we do try our best to engage with all the stakeholders, because we don't believe we know everything and we have the answer to everything. And we try to engage all the stakeholders. Sometimes it's more easy, sometimes it's more difficult.
Okay. No, it's very, very interesting this to create this connection between the organizers. I think it's very, very important.
And absolutely, we want to be the ATP of beach tennis. So we want to, with all due respect, so we want to be the mediator between the players, the organizer, the manufacturer. We have this ambition, so it's important that we do that. So we do actively go and look for their feedback. It's more difficult to get organizers cohesive feedback. So it's a challenge that, as all of the other challenges that we have in beach tennis, we will try to overcome.
Yeah.
It would be very helpful to organize a calendar.
Sorry, just so you know, it's 8:00 here in the UK, and everybody is applauding the very strong and courageous NHS here that is trying to save lives. So if you hear some background noises, people applauding that. I know it happens in every country. So it's 8:00 here. This is when it happens here in London.
I will do my last question. Fari, where do you see beach tennis in the next 5 years?
Okay, 5 years. 5 years means 2025. I will say I would like to see, with all due respect, to all countries, Australia and USA being a lot more active in beach tennis. I would like to see growth in Asia and Africa. I would like to see the qualification system of the World Cup established in 5 years. I would like to see the Sun Series starting to monetize for everybody involved. I would like to see the Junior Tour established as well. And I would like to see the results of the global development partnership that we established with Sandever, making their fruition. We are about to send these 200 courts, these 200 super kits, as we call it, in over 20 countries, new countries for beach tennis, and we hope to see results for that. We want in 5 years to be, but really what we want in 5 years to be the most popular beach sports in the world. But I guess we will see if we achieve that or not. So those are the realistic goals. The dream is in 5 years to really become what we all think we can and what we all want to become, which is the most popular sports in beach.
Yeah, we will try.
Okay.
What do you want to see in 5 years, Michele? Michele. What do you want to see in 5 years? Let me open this question to all of you, to all four of you. Yeah.
I think right. For my opinion, it's very important to develop beach tennis in that countries, United States, Australia, Asia, for sure. I think it's the most important thing, And for my opinion, of course, to create more media, for catch more views, maybe a TV channel, beach tennis channel. I don't know. This is a beach tennis channel. It could help, But in my opinion, we need more people, so more players, and I think we have to work in this direction. But new countries like Australia, United States, there's a very big potential because of the tennis. Also, tennis is very strong in United States. Is very strong in Australia. Very big countries. So maybe we can try to develop in that countries. We will see.
Okay, so I saw a lot of questions.
Shy. Nobody wants to say anything. I wanted to hear from the others, but maybe we talked enough, I guess, right? So it's fair enough.
I saw a lot of questions come from our viewer, but now we have not time, and maybe I don't know. The Player Council can answer in the after in a Facebook group or maybe in a BeachTennis channel live chapter 2, maybe.
Yes, yes, we can. But maybe because also the question came from the people, from the players, from the viewers, if we have this in more languages. So you will upload the video on YouTube, right? Maybe you can explain that.
It will be available some days in the YouTube BeachTennis channel, and you can choose the subtitle in the language of if you want.
It's not a perfect translation, but probably
yes, it's an automatic translation by YouTube, so it's not perfect, but I think you can understand
in every language, right?
Yes, but
perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Sorry, I was just looking at all the comments. I didn't notice all the comments on the channel.
Many comments.
I'm gonna have to read them maybe later, or maybe not. Maybe it's better that
we will answer them.
You have to.
We will answer them.
Okay.
I think it was a really interesting discussion, and I want to thank Fari and the ITF for this opportunity, and the Player Council, Mingo, Maraike, Nikita, and Daniele, that is behind the scenes, but is with us.
Thank you, Daniele.
And I think that we can return to normal sport life as soon as possible and enjoy our BeachTennis life for sure.
Yeah. Let me thank you, the Player Council's members. Let me thank you, Michele and Daniele, for the fantastic job. I think it was a good opportunity. Hopefully the first of more in the future. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, very much.
See you soon, and good BeachTennis.
Okay, and respond to the survey. Go to the Player Council Facebook page and respond to the survey, please.
Not paid advertisement.
Not paid advertisement. It's free. It's free. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao a tutti.